YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And in this video, I am ranking who I think will be the highest paid free agents in the 2021 NFL offseason. So going through my top 10 with my predicted price range and what they get per year, and I'll predict where they'll end up. At the end, I'll go through some players that just missed and their price ranges, in my opinion, as well. So a lot to break down here. Really going to enjoy this video. Plenty of NFL content like this on the channel, all kinds of predictions, rumors, trades, grades, and we'll grade every single free agency signing once free agency kicks off. So hopefully you can join us for that. Subscribe. Breaking news, reaction to breaking news instantly on our Twitter, so you're definitely going to want to follow that at GoatHouse NFL. Link in the comments. You see underneath me, walkthemock.com. Definitely the very best draft simulator out there. If you're interested, link in the comments and use my code GOATHOUSE. Ends up being pretty cheap. Very cool. At least check it out. Here's our Twitter at GoatHouse NFL. Again, link in the comments. Just talking everything. Just every news, breaking it down. Anything you hear me say on the channel, I say on Twitter first. So check it out. Number 10 highest paid free agent for 2021. I'm going Brandon Scherff. Again, at the end, I have some just missed guys really close to this, so pretty much in the same range. I'm going to go Brandon Scherff. I think it's a long-term deal. If he gets franchise tagged again, it's going to be around $18 million. I would not advise Washington to do that. But sometimes the players, would rather take that bigger price, in one. That's when the franchise tag works for players, They'd rather have that, I guess, comfort, security of long-term. But if you can get over $18 million, then maybe you decline any offer, any negotiations, and you try to get that. So that could be interesting. So I guess that could be the maximum. I just really think they push to get a long-term deal done here, keep him in Washington for a long time. I think he's going to get in that 14 to 15.5 million range. Yeah, if I had to put money on it, probably say right at 15, which I believe, puts him towards the top of highest paid guards there, which is, it's a lot, but he's a very solid guard. Some minor injury concerns with him, so that's kind of the tricky part, but he does come in at number 10 for my predicted highest paid players this free agency. Number 9, the only tie we have on this list. We have a tie with 3 receivers at number 9 because I'm predicting that they'll all get the tag, and that tag should be at 15.8. If the salary cap ends up being really, a lot different than what we expected, because since it's not out yet, then it'll be a little different, but not too much. So I'm predicting the tag for these players, so I'm predicting them all back on their actual teams. I'd be surprised if Godwin wasn't tagged. The other 2, maybe a little less surprised, but I think it's going to happen. If I had to pick, I would think Golladay probably, if they were all to get contracts, I would think Golladay probably gets the most, but I am predicting the tag. It makes a lot of sense. It's a little cheaper than what they would get long term, actually, so it would be help the team out, but the players, it's not the end of the world either. 15.8 is a lot of money, and with this year the salary cap kind of going down because of the COVID situation this year, they may be making less per year than they will next year. So bank on themselves a little bit, and they could, hit the bank a little harder there. So, I'm projecting a tie there. So, if one doesn't get the franchise tag, then obviously it won't be a tie. They'll get more money. If same thing with 2. So, it'd be interesting to see, how much they actually get if they don't get the tag. I think 16.5 to 18. 18 is kind of a lot in my opinion, but it's very possible. So we'll see. And all these predictions on per year and everything, they're not what I think they should get. It's what I think they will get in that range. So keep that in mind. More predictions. 8, YANNICK NGAKOUE. This is an interesting one because I was originally thinking he would get the tag from the Baltimore Ravens. Still possible, which would be in that 15.6 million range. So that would actually put him, if he got tagged and the receivers at number 9 got tagged, they would be higher on this ranking list when it's all said and done. So that's possible. I'm starting to think the Ravens could let him walk and kind of target more, of a better fit edge rusher in free agency. I think they would love to have Bud Dupree, Shaq, Barrett, not super likely. Maybe they got like Hassan Reddick or Leonard Floyd possibility. And they could let NGAKOUE walk because, maybe they weren't super thrilled with him, but he's got a ton of upside, very good pass rusher, just needs to stick with the team. But if he doesn't get tagged, I'm confident he'll go elsewhere. He'll get more money elsewhere. 14.5 to 16 million range. So to see the bottom line, you get less than those receivers I ranked at 9. So that kind of means I'm thinking he gets around that, probably about 16 million from a team like the Jets. They're desperate for pass rush. They kind of want to win with their defense right now. They want guys that can compete, but they're also looking out for the future. NGAKOUE kind of fills both those. So I think he fits Robert Saleh's scheme as well. So I think that's a good fit. Now, again, I'm starting to think no tag from the Ravens, and it's possible we can go elsewhere. But the tag for the Ravens or returning with the Ravens is definitely still a possibility. I'm kind of back and forth on those, but I got the Jets for now. I think that's a good fit. I think they'll be willing to pay more than the Ravens would. Moving on to number 7. I might surprise people with this one. Juju Smith-Schuster. And the reason some might be surprised because I have him getting more money than Chris Godwin, Will Fuller, Kenny Golladay. And most people say those guys will get more money. Maybe you could argue some of those guys or all those guys should get more money. Based off the prediction, I really think those guys are going to get the tag, which is what? $15.8 million. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to get more. I do think the bottom line is some teams might be a little cautious with him, but I'm thinking, so the bottom line is 15, so he potentially could get less than those guys getting the tag, but I'm thinking he gets, if I had to put money on it, I'd say it's at 16 and a half, more of that higher end there range, because those other receivers are going to be off the market. They're going to be tagged, and that leaves who at the top? Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe Allen Robinson if he doesn't get tagged. And then the drop-off of Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, pretty big drop-off. So Juju Smith-Schuster, reality could be the best available free agent receiver when teams are going to be battling and bidding for him. So that's going to create a bidding war. It's going to drive the price up, 16 to 16.5 million. Also, keep in mind he's a very young receiver, may still have upside, and teams that are kind of trying to win now but also looking out for the future. Miami Dolphins, definitely a prime example of that. I think they're going to go all in. So that'd be my prediction right now. I mean, you can throw a lot of teams in here, Jets, Colts, you can throw a lot of teams. I don't think Ravens are going to pay top dollar. You can throw Washington in here. Giants may look in there, but they're not going to be able to, a lot of teams. They're going to be able to pay top dollar. I'm feeling the Dolphins at this moment, and he comes in at number 7 for the reasons I explained there. Number 6 is going to be Bud Dupree, so another Pittsburgh Steeler here. And the Steelers are clearing a lot of space. Big Ben restructured his contract, probably the maximum he can restructure. So they clear a lot of space, but I think they're focused on the offensive line. They could very well get one of Bud Dupree or Juju Smith-Schuster back. It's it's possible. I'm not even saying it's a low percentage. It's very possible. This is what I got predicted, though. I'm kind of feeling the Colts this time. This is definitely one I can easily change my prediction as we get closer on. So we'll see. A lot of teams he fits. I think he's a fantastic pass rusher. He can rush from the edge. He can rush from inside. You got to kind of game plan for a guy like this. You got to worry about him as an offensive line, picking up this guy when wherever he rushes from. I think he creates for his teammates. The only problem is the injury, so that kind of makes it a wide range. You see it, out there for what he could get. I tightened it up a little bit. I'm thinking that 16 to 18.9 million range because that would be the tag number. I really don't think that happens, but I put him in that range. He probably gets around 17 million because pass rush, one of the most important things in football. Teams are looking for it. They're getting desperate for it. So, and this could be a 1 or 2 year deal for that much. It wouldn't be that much risk for a team like the Colts that has a lot of money. He's been familiar with the 3-4 outside linebacker role as an edge rusher, but I'm confident he can play more of a 4-3 end. You look at what the Colts did with a guy like Justin Houston. He was coming from 3-4 going to 4-3. So I'm confident they can get creative with Bud Dupree. They're just not going to limit guys like this. So I'm confident that, the Colts need, Justin Houston's a free agent. They need to get better at the edge rush position anyways. I always a little hesitant to predict Colts like big free agents because they usually don't spend, big with free agents, usually the trade. But now is the time. You got to complete this team. So this is definitely one I'm really split on. He can go to the Jets as well. The Ravens might be interested. Steelers could get him back. Dolphins could be interested. Patriots could be. A lot of teams could be interested here. So I definitely could change my mind. Heading in. Right when we head into free agency, I'll have my final predictions and and things. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But he should get to a pretty good amount of money, which is the purpose of this video. Number 6 on the list. Number 5 going to be Allen Robinson. Here's another tricky one, too. I have him with the Bears because the Bears I have him getting tagged, obviously. $17.88 million would be the tag for Allen Robinson. pretty pricey. If he didn't get tagged, yeah, it'd probably be in that 17 and 19 million range. Pretty pricey. But I'm really feeling the Bears tagging him. And then we can see it, so they'll be making those payments then, but then they can shift it off to another team with a trade. So then we'll see if he gets tagged and traded afterward. Washington's definitely a team to look out for. If Miami misses on a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, that's a team to look out for. The Jets, perhaps. So we can talk about that when the time's right. But I'm also starting to believe the Bears, if they can, they could try to hang on to him because, it's a team they're trying to win right now. It's a tough task to be, because we're talking win now. We're talking about way more than just make the playoffs. It's a tough task, but that's what they're trying to do. So getting rid of Allen Robinson is going to set them back. But then the reason against that argument would be they need to get rid of Allen Robinson to get better and I guess maybe more important spots. You look at the quarterback position for one. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm starting to believe a little more. Maybe a couple weeks ago it was like they're going to tag him and they're going to trade him. Now it's they're going to tag him and they might trade him. They might keep him. So we'll see what happens here. 17.88 puts him at number 5. Number 4 on the list is Shaq Barrett, who could get the franchise tag, which would be 18.9, but I think they use the franchise tag on Chris Godwin. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. I think he'll be back in the Bucs. I think that 17 and 19 million range. I think it'll be closer to that 19 million range. He's so important to them, looking like one of the better pass rushers in football. Especially factoring in the postseason, and he's got a lot of upside because he kind of just started getting in this groove just last year. So I think they'll pay him pretty well to keep him around because he's going to be a very important piece of that team for a long time. So I think he's probably close. Yeah, 18 and a half. If I really had to say 18 to 18 and a half million, probably, but it could be as low as 17, but probably closer, as you could tell, in my opinion, to that 19 million range. So Shaq Barrett coming in at number 4. Number 3, you're getting to that big top 3. Now, number 3 going to be Leonard Williams from the Giants. Pretty big range for him, actually. He's not really an edge rusher, so these players, he's a defensive lineman that, provides pass rush. These players typically don't get as much as the edge rush position, but you see his top end is actually, 21.4. His top end is actually second. His maximum is second on this entire list, so he possibly could end up second when it's all said and done. I think he's more towards the middle of that 17 to 21.4. He's filed a grievance to get his position label changed to defensive end rather than D tackle, which he is a DN, but it gets confusing because DN is different in some schemes. And if he gets tagged, which he could decline all offers from the Giants and force the tag to get that $21.4 million if he wins that grievance. Now, he might not win it, and then the top end franchise tag will be over $19 million, which is still a ton. I think they try to work out a deal, and it's probably in the middle of that range. Probably, it's probably right around Shaq Barrett range because the Giants know that he could get that top dollar from the franchise tag. That's a downside of franchise tagging players. Downside for teams is because it kind of keeps adding more. The more you franchise tag them one year, then you go to the next year, it's more money. So end up being pretty rich here, and then sometimes players could kind of force that tag because it's a lot of money. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one, wide range. So we'll see what he gets. He could end up being ranked number 5 when it's all said and done. He could end up being as high as number 2. So I put him at number 3. Definitely a tricky one, but I do think he'll be back in the Giants. They're starting to clear some space so they can get a guy like this back. Trent Williams, I got at number 2. I have him going back to the Niners. I think the Colts are a team that will definitely target him. They could drive the price up here. I think Colts are on priority. Could be a guy like Trent Williams, could be tackle, but if they miss on that, there's not too many other options, so they may go to the draft, and then their focus could be pass rush, which earlier in this video I had them kind of landing a guy like that, but that's kind of up in the air. But I think the Niners will realize they have to get him back. I think he wanted to play for them. He actually originally there was an agreement for him to get traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and he refused to play there. So then he got traded to the 49ers, and he agreed to play there. So I think he likes that landing spot, to return. Colts definitely appealing as well. So we'll see if maybe he accepts something from there. I'm thinking closer to that, $20 million range back to the 49ers, but the Colts are going to battle him, and it's going to be close. So, but I do think the Colts will have their attention towards other free agents, at least they should, other free agents like pass rushers, for an example, while the Niners will be main focus right here on Trent Williams. So, and then they may be able to reach a deal right away in free agency, but it's going to be interesting. So, whichever. I think it's really going to be those two teams. Obviously, you can throw other teams in there, but I really think it's going to be between those two teams, and whichever one doesn't land him, going to have a problem at left tackle. So they may have to fill that in the draft. But the Niners do have a pretty early pick, so they have a better, somewhat early, so they have a better shot to replace him, I guess. So I guess it's on the end of the world there for the Niners. But right now, I'm thinking that they probably get him back, but it should be a close battle. Number one, pretty damn obvious. Dak Prescott be number one. I think he's going back to the Cowboys. If he's franchise tagged, it should be at $37.7 million. They're trying to work on a long-term deal. It's all positive right now. It sounds like they're heading in the right direction. I feel like it was the same thing for a little bit of time last year at this time, and all of a sudden it just went south. And they're like, he's going to get the franchise tag. They're not going to be able to reach a deal. So could happen again. I'm fine with it either way. I think it's good news either way, anywhere in that range, whether it's franchise tag or not. Franchise tag gives the Cowboys a little breathing room because he just had a gruesome injury. We're confident about him coming back playing well, but just in case, let's see how he is after the injury. We don't want to lock him up and then him not being okay, and then Dak could potentially make himself more money, if he gets long-term contract next year. So it's almost a win-win in a way, but it's also a win if you kind of lock him up because he's a good quarterback, confident he'll be healthy, ready to go. So it's kind of a win-win here. It is a lot of money. Maybe it'll limit them to do other things, but it should be a pretty good team. It should be a high-powered offense if healthy. So, yeah, really no surprise he's number one. Let's talk about the players that just missed the cut. And I could have added even more players to this list. There's other players that are just out of this range. That'll be the next just missed cut, which we didn't break down. But LAVONTE David, right? I mean, it was almost a tie for me to have him at number 10. I started to think he could take a little bit of a hometown discount here, wanting to stay with this defense. But yeah, 13.5 to 15.5, probably right at that 15 million, 14.5 million, if I had to say, right around there. Justin Simmons could get the tag for 13.7. He's going to be, if for a long term, he's going to be asking to be a highest paid safety at 15. They could get the tag. I'm kind of 50-50. Could get the tag, or they could reach a deal where it's under 15, 14.5. So right around that range. Judon, a guy that I kind of fear is going to get overpaid. I think this range, more towards 13 kind of makes sense. I'm a little scared about that even. I'm a little afraid he's going to get around that 14.5, 15, even up to 16 range, which is a little overpaid in my opinion, but I think that's what he'll get. Taylor Moton, really with one T, not two. Graphics guy messed that up. And yeah, he messed up the price range as well. 13.6 to 16 million. So keep that in mind. Sorry about the graphic. 13.6 to 16 million. The tag is 13.6. That's what I'm predicting him to get. If he doesn't get the tag, he's going to easily be inside that top 10 of the rankings that we just did. He's easily going to be in there. Very good right tackle. Young, getting better. Everyone's looking for tackles. A lot of teams are desperate for tackles. So he's going to get 16 million if he's a free agent. He's going to get that. He's going to get that. He's going to be on that top 10 rankings list. But I'm thinking he gets that tag 13.6. Joe Tooney, another guard, after Brandon Scherff, should get that 12.5 to 14 million range. So pretty good amount for a guard. And then Darrell Williams, if Moton gets tagged, that kind of leaves Darrell Williams as the next best right tackle with a large gap after. So, his original projected price, which was probably that 10 to 12 range, I think ends up getting higher because of a bidding war because teams desperate for right tackle. So Moton gets tagged. That's a win for Darrell Williams. Price goes up. It's not really a loss if he doesn't get tagged, though, so he should be in that 12 to 14 range. A couple more edge rushers, Carl Lawson, Trey Hendrickson, a couple corners, William Jackson. Maybe Shaq Griffin gets pushed up there. Veteran corners, I think, end up going cheaper than expected. So, yeah, players like that, and then maybe some receivers next in line, Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel. Afraid, somebody pays a little too much for Corey Davis. Maybe he makes his way on this list. So we'll see what happens there. Hunter Henry, tight end, he gets thrown into the mix as well. So a lot of good free agents. A couple safeties too. John Johnson, Anthony Harris. I fear somebody's gonna overpay for him as well. Marcus Williams, same thing. Hopefully they keep it. Those two in this. Around the 10 maximum. So we'll see what happens. We'll have all kinds of videos like this. More predictions. A lot of it already on the channel. Some trade talk, predictions, rumors, candidates, everything. Everything covering free agency, trades, draft, offseason in general. We got you. More content than anybody. Subscribe, smash the like button. Follow us on Twitter. Absolute must to follow us on Twitter. You're missing out if you're not there. But that's going to do it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.